guys, it's Bernadette, and I was just going to have a little bit of playtime in my journal today, so I thought that I would record this and share it with you. Today I'm going to be using Dylusions paint, and I really love this paint in a journal. I apply it several different ways, but today I think I'm going to apply it using a baby wipe. And it's great because it dries almost instantly. It's fabulous. And then I'm going to be using Postbox Red, and I'm going to be using black marble. Now, I did already open this black marble, and I noticed that it's a little on the dry side, so hopefully it'll work with the baby wipe. If not, we'll have to go to plan B. But that's great because if that happens, you guys can see how I overcome some issues in with my supplies or journal or whatever the situation may be, because things don't go smoothly all the time. Things don't go well necessarily or come out perfect the first time. So I just thought I would share this with you and show you what I do to sidestep my problems. So let's get started. So first of all, I am going to use a baby wipe. No, actually, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be making a page today. I was rummaging through some old, very old magazines, and I found these two images that I thought were so cute together. So I'm going to be putting this Cruella de Vil along the edge of the page, just like so. And then I'm going to put the dog like this. So since I'm going to be using Postbox Red, I want Cruella to stand out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint half the page red and the other half black. And I am going to make a design with this. There we go. So I know exactly where I want that divided up. Let's see, I'm going to align this at the top. And then I'm going to take a paint pen and just draw along this line. Now, if you haven't seen this before, this is a block, and it is made by Ranger, and it's a Dylusions product, and this is really awesome. I highly suggest it for journals. It comes in this large size for Diane's largest journal, and it comes in a smaller size for her smaller journals as well. But I went ahead and bought the large one, and it works just fine for both sizes for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get started by using the Postbox Red. Now you see on this side I have some oranges and pinks and reds going on. So I think that the color combination is going to go really well together. So I'm just going to grab a baby wipe. Roll it up kind of like in a ball, and I'm just going to dip the baby wipe in some paint and just start going in circular motions. And this is working perfectly, just the way I want it. I'm going to get some more paint. And I don't use a whole lot of paint at once. I'd rather have to re-dip my baby wipe because I don't want harsh lines. I want it to be very blended out. So we're going to start here. And I'm going to just lighten up on that pressure as I come to that seam. And this will have a little bit of variation of paint Some spots are going to be lighter, some spots are going to be darker, and that's fine. It's not going to be a solid color, which is exactly what I want. I could build it up to a solid color, but I want to have a little bit of variation. And this way you can see exactly how I do my backgrounds in my journals. I think one more dip and we're good. And hopefully you don't see some flashing going on in this video. If you do, I'm having electrical issues with my lighting. My main overhead lighting is flickering on and off on me. I'm not sure why. So, okay, I'm done with this post box red color. Now, as you can see, it hasn't even been 5 minutes since I started this. And look at this, completely dry. Not 1 ounce of paint is coming off on my hand. That's one of the reasons I love this paint. Now let's try the black and see how this goes. I'm just going to go ahead and use the same baby wipe here. Just going to get a different portion of it. I try not to be wasteful at all. And I do keep some press and seal over my paints typically to prevent them from drying out. Now, Diane did come up with some new packaging. So now her paints come in these bottles, which I prefer 10,000 times over the jars, because these stay nice and liquid. And these do tend to dry out. So if you go on one of the websites and see her paint, but it's in this bottle versus these, she is transitioning out of the pots and into these bottles, and it's the same paint. And a little does go a long way. So, by the way, this video is not sponsored in any way. I'm just a firm believer in her paints. So let's see how this, oh, it's working great. Okay. I might have to go in several times and get some of that color, but it's working great. And if I go slightly over that red on the other side of that line, it's not going to bother me. And you'll see why, because I'm going to do kind of a border down that page. So and this is the Dilutions journal that I'm working in as well. And I am using Huggies baby wipes on Diane's recommendation. So I might fast forward this part of the video because it does look like this is going to take me a little bit of time to get this all filled in, and I'll see you when it's all done. Okay, I'm done with the black. And it didn't, I didn't go over it in all the spots. As you can see, I did leave areas where it's not as black as other areas, but that's fine, because what I'm going to do now is I am going to take my white paint, and this is called white linen, and I am going to get a clean sponge. This is the Tim Holtz sponge dauber, and I use them all the time. Excuse my mat. I was working on a couple of other journal pages earlier, so that's why I have this paint here. And excuse my hands too. I have a little bit of paint on my hands as well. So, okay, now I'm going to get a stencil that has circles on it. And I am just going to do dots. I think that'll be really, really cute with the Dalmatian theme that I have going on. So now when you're doing the stenciling and you're using this paint, sometimes there's some paint on the lid, and I just start out by using that because you need very, very little paint on your sponge dauber here. And then I put it on the glass mat and I just kind of work it in circular motions. And the key to this stenciling coming out good is just using very little paint. You don't want a whole lot of paint because it'll seep under the stencil. So I'm going to go ahead and just place it here and just lightly, barely putting any pressure at all. I'm going to have it lighter in some areas and darker in some areas, and I just want some variation of dots. Oh, that looks really cute. Okay, now I'm going to move it a little bit, get some more paint, and do the same thing on this other side. Adorable. I think that's going to look really cute. There. Now what's nice about this is since I hardly put any paint on here, it's pretty dry. The sponge is pretty dry, and they can be reused over and over and over again without washing them as well. The key is you want to get as much of the paint off as you possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn to the back of my book and make sure all of that paint is out of my sponge. There. Now that is pretty darn dry. Now I'm going to heat this with the heating gun. Now, normally, if I wasn't doing this video, I would just let it air dry for at least 3 hours before I go over it with the pen. But since I want to incorporate all of this in the same video, I'm just going to use the heat gun. So if you'll excuse me for a moment. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same paint pen. By the way, this is a Jane Davenport Storytime paint pen in Evil Queen. And I am just going to take that paint pen and trace over the line that I originally made with the border. And then I am going to follow that same line just like that. And then I am just going to color that in. Now this is why I wasn't concerned about going over that red part a little bit, because I knew I was going to make this border. Just to make things a little more interesting. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the book around make sure I'm in frame. Yes, I am. Okay. And then I am just going to do a running stitch. On the top and the bottom of the page. There we go. I love the way that is turning out. And I want this page to be fairly simple. Not a whole lot going on. So I'm going to, let's see, let's put Corella on first. I want her to be right up against that. And I'm going to be using a Elmer's Craft Bond glue stick to glue Corella on with. Now the reason I'm using this type of glue is because this is taken from a magazine and this paper is very, very thin. And if I used any type of wet glue, then it would just wrinkle up terrible. I'm just going to put that along the edge of the page. There we go. Now it's time to do the doggy. Yeah, I couldn't believe my luck. These two images were in two completely different magazines. And when I saw both of them, I couldn't believe how lucky I was to find both of them. At the same time, mind you. So I couldn't resist. I had to put them in the journal. Gonna move him over just a hair. Yeah, that's cute. Kind of overlapping. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a smaller paint pen in black, and this is going to be a Posca pen, and it's PC1M is the size, and I am just going to go around the border of this Corella. And I'm going to do it quickly. I'm not going to, you know, be too perfect about it. I want it to have some character, so it's not going to be completely straight. And then I'm going to just draw another line around that. There we go. Now let's go ahead and trace around the dog. And it just makes a little bit of a difference. It just gives that image a little bit of a shadow. And let's see, what shall we, let's go ahead and write something. And I think I'm going to put not today, because he is not going to let Corella make a coat out of him today. So let's just, I can't write very straight without a line. So I always, well, not always, but most of the time, use some kind of ruler to make a line, because I hate having crooked writing in my journal. Okay, so let's see, not today. And then I'm going to just draw dots on the letters. And I think we have to add an exclamation point with the love heart. Not today. I think that looks very cute. And I think I am just missing some more stitching. So I'm just going to go along this curve and draw some more stitching lines. Like that. And I think I'm going to add stitching lines around this side. When drawing stitching lines or any other kind of lines, it's always helpful if you draw them toward you, because it does help keep it a little straighter. There we go. Now I think I'm going to just take a gray Tombow and this is N55, and this writing should be dry, so I'm just going to shadow around it. There. Give it a little bit of depth. And then once that dries completely, I will go back and erase that pencil line that I originally drew. Now let's see here. I think it needs some white to make this really pop. Let's see here. I'm going to use another Posca white pen, and this is a PC1MR. And I'm just going to go around some of these spots. Not all of them, just a couple. There we go. I just feel like this needs something more on this side. Whoops, that color's coming up just a little bit. Excuse my dog barking. I guess he likes the page, right? He sees the dog. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my dot stencil, and I am going to add a few dots in Postbox Red because I feel, now this is going out of order. I normally would do the whole background and then put the image on, but I think that this is just desperately needing a little something. So once again, I'm just going to get the paint that's in the lid, and I'm just going to go over the same area that we put the Postbox Red in before, because now that we're going to go over that same area with the same color, it's going to make it a little bit opaque, just enough to have some, add some depth instead of it being so plain. Oh yeah, that did it. That looks way better now. So see, not everything turns out perfect at first. Sometimes pages just need a little extra touch here and there, some extra love, shall we say. There we go. There, I think that made it. It's subtle, but it just added a little bit of depth, and I am crazy about it. So there you go, guys. There is a quick journal page, and except for doing the black part, I have left this in real time, so you can see, oops, you can tell that not all journal pages have to take a long time, super long time to do. Some of them can be very quick and easy. So I hope you enjoy this video, and if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button, and also like this video. I would appreciate it very much. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the description box below. Thank you and have a fabulous day. Bye.